He was known only as the Piano Man. One cold April evening in 2005, he was found wandering on a beach in England, soaking wet, dressed in a black suit and tie, with no identification. He didn't say a single word. When police took him to a local hospital, they gave him a pen and paper, hoping he might write his name or where he was from. Instead, he drew a detailed sketch of a grand piano. The staff, intrigued, led him to the hospital's chapel and its piano. He sat down, and for the next 4 months, he played. He played for hours on end. Everything from classical masterpieces by Tchaikovsky and Bach to his own haunting original compositions. He never spoke, never made eye contact, just communicated through the 88 keys in front of him. His story exploded. News outlets around the world picked it up. Who was this mysterious, silent virtuoso? Was he a famous concert pianist who had suffered a breakdown? A musical genius who had lost his memory? The public was captivated. Theories swirled. People from all over Europe came forward, claiming to know him, but none of their stories checked out. Was he from Poland? Norway? France? Every lead went cold. The hospital was flooded with calls, letters, and emails, each offering a new theory or a desperate plea for him to be their long-lost relative. For 120 days, the world watched, listened, and waited. The Piano Man became a symbol of mystery, a blank slate onto which people projected their own stories of loss, hope, and the profound power of music. The hospital staff grew fond of him, caring for this silent man who could make a piano weep. His music was his only language, his melodies the only clues to the person locked inside. And then, one day, it all came crashing down. A nurse walked in and asked him, "Are you going to speak to us today?" And for the first time, he did. He looked at her and said, "Yes, I think I will." The silence was broken. And the truth was far stranger and far more human than anyone could have ever imagined. His name wasn't a mystery. It was Andreas Grasl, a German man who had a history of mental health struggles. He wasn't a concert pianist. In fact, his family later revealed he couldn't play the piano at all. He had owned a simple keyboard once, but he was no virtuoso. The complex classical pieces the hospital staff thought they heard. He had apparently just been pressing the same key over and over again. So, what happened? Andreas had been working in Paris but lost his job. In a state of profound crisis, he decided to travel to England, intending to end his life. When he was found on that beach, he wasn't shipwrecked. He was simply lost and overwhelmed. The silence wasn't amnesia. It was a deliberate choice, a defense mechanism against a world that had become too much to bear. He wasn't trying to deceive anyone. It was just a man who was deeply unwell and in need of help. The grand piano drawing, complete mystery. The suit, also unexplained. When the media frenzy began, Andreas felt trapped. The story of the Piano Man had grown so enormous, so romantic, that the quiet, struggling man at its center was lost. He was scared to reveal the mundane, painful truth and shatter the beautiful myth the world had built around him. The public reaction to the truth was harsh. People felt tricked, betrayed. The romantic mystery they had invested in turned out to be a story of mental illness. The media, which had built him up into a mythical figure, quickly turned on him, painting him as a fraud and a hoaxer. He went from being a celebrated enigma to a public joke almost overnight. After the truth came out, Andreas was sent back to Germany to his family. He faded from the public eye, finally given the privacy and care he should have had from the beginning. His story is a powerful and perhaps uncomfortable look at how we as a society create narratives. We were so desperate for a magical, romantic mystery that we overlooked the simple, human truth. A man was in pain. The world wanted a silent genius, a tortured artist. What they got was a vulnerable human being going through a mental health crisis. The Piano Man's story isn't really about music or mystery. It's about our collective desire for a good story. and the sometimes unfortunate consequences when that desire collides with a messy, complicated reality. It forces us to ask ourselves, why were we so captivated by the myth? And why were we so disappointed by the truth? Perhaps the story of the Piano Man says less about him and more about us. It's a reminder that behind every sensational headline, there's often a real person with a real story that deserves compassion, not just curiosity. And it highlights the critical importance of mental health support. If you or anyone you know is struggling, please know that there are resources available, and reaching out is a sign of strength. Help is always there. The legend of the Piano Man lives on, not as a mystery solved, but as a modern fable. A cautionary tale about the stories we tell and the human beings we sometimes forget are at the heart of them. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more deep dives into fascinating human stories. See you in the next one.